Good afternoon, students. Ms. Connor here for April the 8th and also for April 11th's lesson. So today, if you did not turn in your homework, I'm going to go ahead and collect that. But one of the things I would like to see happen today is we have a drill review. And on the drill review of these three problems, I just basically wanted you to find the greatest common factor, and I also want you to factor those problems. So, after a few minutes, and I kind of have my little cheat sheet here. So for the first one, oops. We have our answer, which was 2mn times nm plus 9. The second one was 15bc cubed times 5b plus 4. And lastly was 4x times 3ax squared plus 5bx plus 8c. So after we did this, I wanted to do a quick activity. So those that scored a 3 out of 3 off the drill, I had you do a section of problems, like 4 problems, just to reiterate and also to check on your greatest common factors and make sure your skills are up to date. Those that scored a 1 or 2 out of those 3 from the drill, they went over to the yellow section. And the other ones, I'm going to give you a little additional one-on-one instruction. So while everybody was doing the drills, I was helping students out just to break down what were their philosophies, what parts did they miss, just to make sure that they really understood the greatest common factors. So after we did that, we went on to our notes. So our notes for today is factoring by grouping. So factoring by grouping, we have a couple steps here. The first step you're going to do, you're going to group 2 binomials in parentheses. Then you're going to find the greatest common factor for each parenthesis. And once you do that, you're going to find the greatest common factor for the entire expression. And lastly, you're going to place the remaining values in another parenthesis. And the way that you can check to see if you have the right numbers and also the right signs is you can either do the FOIL method or the box method, as we discussed in previous lessons. So the best way to show how to factor by grouping is through examples. So for example 1, we have 4ab plus ab plus 3a plus 6. Now compared to the questions we've been dealing with before, hopefully you notice that, hey, you have 4 binomials right here. One of them is the 4ab, the second one is the 8b, the third one is the 3a, and the fourth one is the 6. So step 1 says I need to put parentheses around 2 binomials. So I'm going to put a parenthesis around 4ab plus 8b, and then I'm going to put a parenthesis around 3a plus 6. Now my second step says I need to find the greatest common factor for each of these parentheses. So I'm going to kind of shade it a little bit. And I'm just going to look at this first parenthesis. So from this point, we're going to find the greatest common factor, just like we've been doing for the previous lesson. So we have 4ab plus 8b. So what number they have in common is 4. And also the variable they have in common is b. So for the 4b, we're going to do what we've just done before, is I'm going to take that greatest common factor and I'm going to divide it by each term. So now from here, I have 4 divided by 4, which is 1. I don't have to put the 1 down, but I have my a, and my b divided by my b will give me 1 as well. Bring down my plus sign. Then 8 divided by 4 will give me 2, and b divided by b will give me 1. So the factor of this 4ab plus 8b is going to be 4b times a plus 2. Once we do that side, now we need to do the other side. So there's a plus sign, so I want to bring that down. And inside the parentheses, you have your greatest common factor, which in this case will be 3. And we're going to do the same exact thing. We're going to divide everything by that 3. So 3a divided by 3 will give me a, plus 6 divided by 3 will give me 2. So what you do on one side, you do on the other. So now, what do you notice? Notice that inside the parenthesis, you have the same exact thing, right? So that's 8 plus 2. So with that being the same inside the parenthesis, that's going to be the greatest common factor of this whole entire expression. The whole expression is the 4b times a plus 2 plus 3 times a plus 2. So I'm just going to write down my greatest common factor, which is a plus 2. And now I'm on the last part, which is everything that's left is going to be put into its own parenthesis, which in this case will be my 4b plus 3. And this right here is my solution. So you're still taking the ideas of GCF. Well, instead of us doing it once, we're actually doing it twice. So the way that I can check it is by using either the box or that FOIL method. So since a lot of you guys like the FOIL method, we're going to take our A and we're going to distribute to everything inside that parenthesis. So A times 4B will give me 4AB. And then A times plus 3 will give me plus 3A. The next one is this positive 2. And 2 times 4B will give me plus 8B. And 2 times 3 will give me plus 6. What do you notice? Isn't that my original equation? Other than the 3 and the 8b kind of switched up. But that's my same equation. So that's one way you can check to see if you have the right numbers and the right signs. So let's try another example. B squared minus 2b plus 3b minus 6. Step 1, I need to put parentheses around my two terms. Then I need to find the greatest common factor for each of those parentheses. So let's start on the extreme left. So b squared minus 2b, so what they have in common is b. So in order for me to fill this parenthesis, I need to divide everything by my b. So b squared divided by b is b, minus 2b divided by b is 2. I have a plus sign, bring that down. Now my greatest common factor for 3b minus 6 is 3. And I'm dividing everything here by 3. So 3b divided by 3 is b. Bring down my minus. Then 6 divided by 3 is 2. What do you notice? Hopefully you said that inside the parentheses is exactly the same. So that's my greatest common factor for that expression. So I'm just going to write my greatest common factor down. And then everything else that's left over is going in the parenthesis. And then this is my answer. All right? Next one. 2a squared plus 3a plus 6a plus 9. We have 4 terms here. First step, put parentheses. And notice I'm not putting parentheses around this plus sign. I'm just putting the parentheses right now around the monomials. So, greatest common factor of 2a squared plus 3a is a. That means I'm dividing everything up here by a. So now inside the parenthesis I have 2a plus 3. Here's my plus sign, so I bring that down. And my greatest common factor for 6a plus 9 is 3. That means I'm dividing everything by 3. So 6a divided by 3 is 2a. Bring down my plus sign. 9 divided by 3 is 3. So what do you notice? My parentheses are exactly the same, so my greatest common factor is 2a plus 3. And what's left over is going into the other parenthesis, which is a plus 3. Okay? Notice in between this parenthesis, there should not be a sign, meaning there shouldn't be a plus sign, there should not be a minus sign in between them. Okay? So then this right here is your solution. Okay? So remember, when we're factoring, we're basically given the answer in the beginning. We just have to figure out what the original question is. In this case, the original question was 2 binomials multiplied together. Okay? And that's all it is. So now, one of the key things that you notice, the parentheses will always be exactly the same. Meaning, if I have 2a plus 3 in my first parenthesis, that means my second parenthesis must also be 2a plus 3. What if I didn't get the same thing in the parentheses? Maybe the number that you chose to be your greatest common factor is not exactly your greatest common factor. Okay, so maybe you have to rethink of what number is my GCF. Okay, but your parentheses should always be the same when you're doing grouping. Also, the best time to do grouping is when you have 4 binomials. Okay, so when you have 4 terms, you can do grouping. When you only have 3 terms, check to see about your GCF. So when you have 2 terms, you can check to see your GCF as well. Okay? Example number 4. 12x squared minus 15xy minus 16x plus 20y. First things first, put parentheses around your 2 sets of monomials. Okay? Doing the same exact thing. First parenthesis, what's my greatest common factor? So we got 12 and 15. So the greatest common would be 3. I have 2 x's in the first term. I have 1 x in the second term, so that means they have x in common. Parenthesis. So that means I'm dividing my 3x to everything inside this term, just like how we've done before. 12 divided by 3 is 4. X squared divided by x is x minus 15 divided by 3 is 5. X divided by x is x. No, it's not. X divided by x is nothing. It just cancels out. But then I have my y. So the first parenthesis is 4x minus 5y. Bring down our minus sign. Now, what's the greatest common factor this time for this one? 16 and 20, we got 4. So inside our parenthesis, I'm dividing everything by 4. So I have 4x plus 5y. So you're probably saying, what do you notice? The parentheses are not exactly the same. Yeah, they have the same numbers, but do they have the same signs? No, they don't. Best way for me to do this, kind of take it off to the side. So we notice that we're subtracting this time. And this subtraction can act as a negative. So right here, I'm looking at a negative 4. So if I were to distribute this, I could say negative 4 times my positive 4x, that should give me a negative 16x. Isn't that what we got for our original? So now, negative 4 times my positive 5y should give me a negative 20. Is that what we got in our original? No, we have a positive 20. So in order for us to move on, we have to have a true statement. Right now, it's not a true statement because the signs are different. So what I can do, instead of adding 5y to both sides, I actually can subtract 5y to both sides. And you're probably asking, just like most of my classes today, is, can we just do that? Like, sure. Because think about it. When we do a minus times a negative, don't we change that to a positive? So we can do that. That's what's called the additive inverse. So to be all professional about it, we want to make sure that we get a true statement all the way through. So when you're subtracting, the best way to do this, instead of changing all the signs from the beginning to the end when we were when we were subtracting polynomials, we did the keep, change. So instead of changing everything, why not just simply change the last sign? So now everything's fine. Everything that's written in blue matches up with our original. Everything that's written in red now matches up with the original. Now what do you notice? That my greatest common factor is that 4x minus 5y. And then what's left over is my 3x minus 4. And then that's my solution. So let's try that again. My last example, 10x squared minus 4xy minus 15x plus 21y. First things first, put my parentheses. Greatest common factors. So 10 and 14, greatest common factor would be 2. I have 2 x's in the first term. I have 1 x in the second term. So there is 1 x in common. I have no y's in the first term, but I have 1 y in the second term. So I don't put any y's down. So right now, my greatest common factor is 2x. And I'm going to divide 2x on both sides. So here I would get 5x minus 7y. Let's bring that minus sign in between down. And what's my greatest common factor for the next one? It'll be 3. So then inside this parenthesis is 5x. You would say plus 7y. But since we're subtracting, instead of a plus 7y, we're going to put a minus 7y. Because look at it. If I looked at this 3 as a negative 3, multiplied it with my 5x, I'll get a negative 15x. That's what I have originally. When I think of a negative 3 times a negative 7, negative times negative is positive, and 3 times 7 is 21, and I have my y. Everything's working out. Inside my parenthesis, greatest common factor is 5x minus 7y. And then what remains is 2x minus 3. And this is my solution. So as practice, I want you to try these two. So always remember, when you're doing the grouping, you're grouping your first set of terms and you're grouping your last two set terms. You're leaving the sign in between. If you're subtracting, that means that last term needs to change its sign. If we're adding, we leave everything alone. Okay, so that's the key part. If you're subtracting, change that last term sign. If you're adding, leave it alone. Okay, so you can turn this off, give these a try, and then we'll come back to check our answers. So hopefully you paused it, you gave these a try. So let's see if you guys got the right answer. So for the first one, I have 6a squared minus 15a minus 8a plus 20. And then the second one was 4x squared plus 14x plus 6x plus 21. And for your answers, did you get 2a minus 5 times 3a minus 4? Remember, you had to change that last term so it can match up. And for number 2, since we were adding, we have 2x plus 7 times 2x plus 3. If you got those two, good job. I'm proud of you. Okay, so last bit, we had our homework assignment. And just to remember, when do we use grouping versus when do we just use the greatest common factors when we're factoring? So if it has 4 terms, we're doing the grouping. If it has 2 or 3 terms, we're looking to see for the greatest common factor. So for our homework assignments, which ones do you think we're going to be doing grouping? Hopefully you said 1 and 4. 2 and 3, you're doing the grouping with the GC, or not the grouping, you're doing the factoring with the GCF, just like how we did for this previous lesson. Okay, so that's all we did. Okay, so that was the homework, 4 problems, easy. Once we get those done, we're going to spend another day on the grouping, but this is what I'm going to do. There will be a mini quiz based on finding the factors, finding the greatest common factors, and just factoring with just the GCF. Okay, so those are going to be on a mini quiz next class, which will be the 12th and the 13th, and that's also on my calendar on the website. So, not too long, got 5 days, suck it up. And then you have spring break for about a week and a day, and I know for sure you're not going to be thinking anything about math during that time. But we still have the rest of the factoring to do. We still have factoring trinomials to do, and we're going to touch more on grouping. And hopefully we're going to do factoring, and we're going to start solving some problems before we jump right into the quadratics. Before you know it, guys, it's almost over. So, just as a reminder, think about your careers for your final examination, and try to think of and write down, my suggestion, type it, the descriptions of your career, also the benefits and limitations of the career. So hopefully next class, I'll see if I can get some time for us to do some work with that, like the initial startup of it. In class, but I really want you to start thinking about it so we're not wasting too much time trying to do the whole thought process. Okay?